Welcome back to episode 15 of the racing show. Cheltenham Saturday November meeting. Going to take a look at now. Going to take a closer look at 4 of the 7 races on Saturday, but quickly just going to touch on the 12:35. It's a juvenile race. Usually the winner will end up in the Triumph at Cheltenham. This looks to be like a match between East India Dock and Prairie Dancer Angel, one of the two. Joseph O'Brien runner. I've watched back both of their last runs. None of them particularly take my fancy. East India Dock's got a decent engine, but he was under the gun for a long way out. Not sure how well he travels. Prairie for Joseph O'Brien, again, looks quite a good engine underneath, but some questionable jumping, to be honest. So I'll just be happy to watch that one. But the first race I'm going to take a look at is the 1:45. It's an Arkle novices chase over 2 miles. Again, the kind of race that if you would see a smart winner, they could definitely turn up in the Arkle in March. There's a clear one on ratings here for Harry and Dan Skelton. Leau Du Sud. He made a good chase debut at Stratford at the end of October, beating No Risk de Fleur by 10 lengths. It was probably a step up on what he's achieved over hurdles, and that was a second in the county at the Cheltenham Festival in March. He should be much too good for these and her. I'd expect that if he can kind of take that Cheltenham form in with him to the Cheltenham fences, he should be very, very hard to beat. The ground might be the one question mark, but he's got winning form on good to soft ground. I'm not too concerned, to be honest. If there was anything in here, anyone kind of a bit closer to him in quality, I'd probably be a bit more concerned. But Leau Du Sud looks like a good bet at a shade of over even money. I think he can get us off to a winning start on Saturday. Moving on to the 2:20, it's the Paddy Power Gold Cup over 2 mile 4 furlongs. Going to take 2 stabs at this one. Towards the top of the market, quite fancy Leau to run well. Very consistent performer. Won at Cheltenham in January of this year, and that was a big handicap. He ran off 150 that day and won. He's only running off 155 here. So he's slightly up in the weights, but he's continued to run well in big handicaps since. His last run of last season came in April, where he was second in a grade 2 chase at Sandown. And then this season, he made his reappearance in a handicap chase of 154 at Chepstow, where he came second again. So yeah, very consistent performer, likes the track, runs well on good to soft ground. Shouldn't be an issue for him here. Tends to run well in, double figure field sizes, and I think he can replicate that Cheltenham form back in January. And the other one at quite a big price would be Jetoile. If you go back to that race that I previously mentioned, Leau won in January. Jetoile actually ran in that same race off the same weight that day, came 4th. He's been quite disappointing since, but he has dropped to a very winnable mark, 145. He won around this time last year at Aintree in a similar type of race, an 11 runner handicap race. Obviously going left-handed this time of year. He won that off 146. He's off 145 here. He's run well at Cheltenham before. He's got some form on good soft ground, good ground, and I think he might be able to outrun his odds here. He's looking around a 20-25 to 1 shout. Moving on to the 2:55, it's a 3 mile handicap hurdle. Quite a tricky race to kind of get to the bottom of, but Captain Morgs did make some appeal for me. It's been an odd horse, oddly campaigned horse. Went to the festival a couple of years ago, went to the Pertemps after a quite impressive win a few months prior to that. Ever since then has been tried chasing and hadn't really shown much up until May of this year when winning an Aintree 3-mile handicap chase. That was quite impressive, but he's done nothing the like since, and probably isn't a chaser, to be honest. So reverting back to hurdles here, off a very winnable mark, 135 is actually Captain Morgs' last winning mark on both handicap chase, as I mentioned, 135 winning Aintree, and then before that was, as I mentioned, the race that he won going into Cheltenham in 2023, and that was a 3-mile handicap chase. Around this time of year, he won off 134. He runs off 135 today. I think he's waiting to go well. His last 2 wins, those 2 wins that I mentioned, have both came on good ground, so the ground won't be a concern. Hopefully he's ready for this. It's hard to say because he was pulled up in a handicap chase last time in October in his seasonal reappearance. But as I said, maybe chasing isn't his game. Handicap hurdling is definitely more up his street. Cheltenham has proved that it suits, especially as the last time he contested a hurdle race of this quality, of this rating, he won. I think he could be able to go close. He's currently about 20-1. I think it's a very fair price to get involved. I'm not expecting loads, but you know, if he's turned up and he's ready for this, I do think he is weighted to get in the frame. The fourth and final race I'm going to take a look at is the 3:30. It's a 2-mile 5 furlong handicap hurdle. And long draw was the one of most interest for me here. He's been running really well in defeat in his last 3 starts, and he's took a massive step up on everything he's done prior to that. As I said, the 3 starts that he's had this season, 3 seconds in behind good horses the last twice. Yeah, he has been a beaten favourite the last 2 times, but he's clearly running well. He hasn't massively gone up the weights. He's gone from 112 to 118, which, you know, in the space of 2 runs is a lot for not winning, but at the same time, he probably could have been penalised a lot more had he won one of those races. So I think he's still fairly well in off 118. He's proven that he's got good form on good ground, with the last 3 runs all being on good ground. He might just be able to continue improving here, especially being a bit further down the weights, especially being not as fancy to run well. He's not going to go off favourite here. I think we can get at least about 10-1 on him. And I think he can continue to run well, and I could see him in the frame once again, and hopefully it'll be able to turn a second into a first for us and get the job done. So there, the 4 races at Cheltenham for Saturday. I'll just run you quickly back through the selections. So in the 145, that's Leau Du Sud. In the 220, we're going for 2 windpokes, Leau and Jetoile. In the 255, it's Captain Morgs. And in the 330, it is Long Draw.